So what is it that motivates you to try to practice it, or what do you hope to accomplish when you project?
I think like the main thing, and I think this has always been what's been most interesting, is the thought of being able to be more aware in a different state of consciousness to increase my awareness in general. But then also, of course, you know, it's very interesting to think that, oh, I can have experiences in this state where I'm not beholden to the limitations of the physical body, and I can go and do those things. So I think it's like twofold. Like, so like self-exploration and just seeing how I am in different environments or in that different mind state, but then also just being able to have those interesting and novel experiences. How about you?
Pretty much the same. I would say throw in there that I just really, really like flying.
Yeah, yeah.
I would say I probably spend 50% of my time out just flying. Lately, I've been doing more experiments and trying to go to places I haven't seen before and trying to interact with people and have, like physically verifiable evidence that this is real or that this isn't real, or, things like that, because a lot of people are interested in that kind of thing. And I've had a lot of people ask me, hey, can you try to prove that this is real? And so I feel like I should give that a try. It's an interesting experiment. I've been unsuccessful at this point.
Yeah, same here.
But I would say by far my favorite thing to do is just get out and just fly.
Yeah, definitely flying is pretty interesting. For me personally, I'm a little afraid of heights, so it's like it's sort of a love-hate relationship. Like as long as I feel like I'm in control completely when I'm flying, then that's wonderful and magical. There has been one time though that sticks out to me. I was actually staying over at my husband's house back when we were just dating, and I ended up like out on the road in front of like where his bedroom was, and I realized, oh, I'm having an out-of-body experience. I just happened out there. I didn't get up out of body, but I was just there, and it was like I didn't have control over my body from like the knees up, but like from my knees down, like my legs were stiff and they were like floating upward, like almost like levitating out of my control. And so it was almost like my body was like trying to get control, but like my whole body was also floating up. So that one was a little bit scary. But I have had other times where I've been flying and it's been really a wonderful experience.
And do you always have a body when you get out? I mean, like you always have a physical or a replica of your physical body?
It feels that way. Like I think, if I'm in like that void state, like where everything's just black, then it's just like I'm just a floating consciousness. But there's always this feeling that I have a body, but I don't think I ever thought to look, except for one time when I was 15, I got out and I had the sort of tumbling over myself thing, and I was looking in the mirror, and so I was able to actually see my body do this, but I was actually able to see up underneath the bed, and so that was like a really and again, this was a time when I wasn't aware of like sleep paralysis or any of that process, so it was like, oh my goodness, it's really happening, that type of thing. But I guess hang on, I sort of lost my train of thought. I'm sorry.
Oh,
where was I going with that?
No, I was just curious because I've always had
having body.
a replica of my physical body when I get out. I always feel like I'm the same person and the same arms and legs and everything that I am in physical life. And I was curious because some authors write about how at some point you just lose the need for a physical body, and you lose the desire to have one because you just decide, I'm better off without one. I'm better off as this floating point of consciousness that can just soar around the universe and do anything it wants. And with you having had 50 plus experiences over your years, I wondered if you had gotten to the point where you no longer are attached to that idea of having a physical body.
No, I think I'm still very attached to that, definitely, when I'm interfacing with like any kind of reality. But during that void state, it's always just like floating consciousness. And I've had that only a few times. So basically it'll be just like all dark, and it like just feels like I'm floating, but it doesn't feel like I'm floating with the body. It's just like my consciousness is just there,
Right.
And it almost is a little bit of a timeless state. There's nothing really for me to grab a hold of, but it also, it's not so different from the normal astral projection state that I wouldn't be able to connect the two together. Does that make sense?
Oh, that makes sense.
Yeah.
I love the void state.
Yeah. I was surprised actually. I think I think I had commented on one of your videos, I'm pretty sure, and you had said that like that was one thing. I forget what you'd said about it, but you said that it was something that you got pretty often. For me personally, I think I've gotten the void state 3 times with astral projection, but then there were a couple of dreams also where I hit like a similar type void state just one time. And again, this is a dream. It wasn't an astral projection experience, but I was basically swallowed whole by this hag, and I was like floating through time and space, and that had that void sort of state too. And so this was like a really vivid dream that I felt like actually had a lot of commonalities with the void state from astral projection, even though normally astral projection and dreams feel very different for me. And then also there was one time that I basically ended up going up through this like window that was, it looked like a painting by William Turner. Are you familiar with that artist?
I'm not, no.
Basically, he was a landscape painter working in the 1800s, I think.
Okay.
Yeah, and the colors he used in his landscapes were really, really bright and vibrant. But basically, I was like sucked up into this window, and outside of the window, it looked like a William Turner painting. But I was sucked through that window, and it was that same kind of void state. Have you ever experienced the void state in any dreams?
Not in any dreams. I've had dreams that have become lucid, and then from the lucid dream state, I can induce the vibrations just on the, on a dime, just really, really easily. I just think about the vibrations, and then they'll just kick off, and then I can wake up and I'll be mid-vibration and I can roll out. But the void state usually, in fact, I would say 99 to 100% of the time, I induce it after I put my body to sleep. I've kept my mind awake, my senses have all shut off, so I hear my hearing will just click off, and so I just can't hear anything anymore except for just the internal noise, and my vision clicks off, which is sort of a strange thing to think about because I've got a sleep mask on, it's already dark, but you've always got those internal shapes and lights and things like that you see on the inside of your eyelids.
Yeah.
And at some point, after you put your body to sleep, and I go through these micro blackouts and dip in and out a few times, my sight will click off. So it's like flipping off a light switch, and all of that whatever it is just turns off, and it's just complete blackness.
Yeah. No, it is very interesting. Yeah, because if you think about it, you're always kind of looking at something, even if you're looking at the inside of your eyelids, which you tend to think of as, oh yeah, I'm not looking at anything, but you're still looking at something. But in that void state, it does seem like it's just a complete vacuum where there's nothing.
Yeah, so it's a state that I tend to induce rather than just get put into from like a dream standpoint, like you're saying.
Yeah.
Just want to give you a heads up. I got about 5 or 6 minutes, and I got to get to bed since I've got an early day of work tomorrow.
Okay. Do you want to ask the last question?
I want to ask the last one. Let's see. What have we not talked about yet? Okay. Well, let's talk about this because this is something I'd be interested in hearing your opinion on. What would you say are the best resources for somebody that's learning to astral project from a YouTube video perspective, a guided meditation perspective, a reading perspective, books, whatever you've come across? What's the best resource that you can think of?
Well, personally, for me, like most of mine has just been kind of like playing it by ear and sort of like doing it from my perspective. But I would say like really like listening to videos, things like that. I think like your channel would actually be a great resource for someone wanting to come and learn how to astral project or about the benefits of doing so. And I think, just learning about the sleep cycle, like anything that like will kind of help you time out when you're most likely to have your sleep paralysis bouts. And so, anything that's basically going to give you more information about the way your body works and the way the sleep cycle functions, I would say would be the best advice that I could give.
Actually, that's a really good point. So I have a Fitbit, like, those bracelets that you wear.
Oh, yeah.
And it also tracks your sleep cycle, which I found is an interesting thing because you can look at that, and typically you go in these 90-minute cycles, right? You've got the light sleep, deep sleep, and REM sleep, and then you wake up and you repeat the process a few times during the night. And I can see in my sleep tracker on my phone that this Fitbit is recording. I can see when my REM cycles are, because typically right after them, I'll either roll over or, you know, I'll wake up and I get up and go to the bathroom or get a drink or come back to bed or whatever. And it's every 90 minutes. So it's almost just like clockwork, the same time every single night.
That
And
is
so
awesome. See, I did not know that.
Yeah. If you got something like that, you can plan for that and you can wake yourself up preemptively and, you know, take advantage of that time frame and use that as part of your wake back to bed, you know, practice that you go through.
Yeah, definitely.
That's a really good point.
Actually, that reminds me, because I just learned about ramp timers on your channel, and so I think maybe doing a ramp timer also would be good. Like if you could kind of like find one that times out for your REM cycle, you know, I think that would be a great resource to look into as well.
Yeah, those are really good if you can, like you said, if you can nail your sleep cycle and your REM sleep, the portion of your sleep that's REM sleep, because so much of that is just based on luck. If you haven't really studied out when you have REM sleep and when you've got deep sleep, then I found the ramp timers more frustrating than anything.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So it really does take some effort beforehand to say, you know, today I woke up at 11 p.m. Even if you don't have something like a Fitbit to help you track it, keep track of when you wake up in the night and say, was I just dreaming 2 seconds ago? And if you were, then that was one of your REM cycles. And, you know, write that down, keep track of the time, and try to track out your sleep cycle. And that way you can more effectively use something like a ramp timer that's going to wake you up repeatedly and hopefully land on those REM cycle periods and make the most of them instead of just make you exhausted in the morning.
Yeah, definitely. No, I think that's a really great bit of advice there. Yeah, so I think you had said, and I'm trying to remember back to your video where you were talking about your very first time. Yeah, did you get that using a ramp timer, was it?
I did. Yeah, so that was the very first time, and I said, I had gone through these YouTube videos looking for information about lucid dreaming, and I came across Astral Projection and Nicholas Newport and him talking about how he's going to help you get out of body. And I said, this is just utter nonsense. And so, yep, I took the ramp timer because Nicholas Newport, in his words, calls it the super sneaky cheat method of getting out of body.